What's going on, everybody? I hope you can hear me. I got to do these mic checks and sound checks before we get started. What's going on? How y'all doing? Say something to me in the chat room. What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Just getting these mic checks situated and started. And sound check. All right, so it sounds like we are all good to go. Now, y'all know how I do when I get it started. I don't know if you can hear that, but we're going to see. So, now if you happen to be tuned in on the other side of the world, it might actually be morning or close to morning time. So for you, Grand Rising, how you doing? Over here on the East Coast, it's kind of late, even a little bit late for me because I usually try to come on a little bit earlier. But peace to all the positive people in the universe. What's good, Richard, Virginia, and Hotep to the Pan-African Black world. And if none of that describes you, let me just say this. Shout out to anybody that knows how to look past the smoke and mirrors. Now, we got some stuff for you tonight. They're moving fast, and y'all know who they is. All kind of slips and slides. We got some information about people exposing themselves. The drama is so thick. August Wilson couldn't have written this. So we're going to talk tonight about POTUS and his so-called accidental confession, or not confession, mishap, mix-up. A lot of people have been talking, and I even said here on this show a couple of times, it's all planned, it's written down. Just like Nas said it was written. And so he didn't put out some information, and it's like, I told you, smoking gun right there. So we now have even more, not that we needed it, but we have more evidence of him weaponizing the Justice Department. And it's right there on social media for you to see. Now, that's just one of the stories. Now, another story. Y'all remember the Kirkster? Y'all remember the Kirkster and his little point of the turn organization? Well, it seems like they've assigned the black mega coons. They've put them to task for October, sending them out to invade HBCU homecomings. Talk about bringing rain to the parade. So they plan to recruit. They plan to debate, cause confusion, and bring drama to black students. And yet again, we must return to the White House. Because you know who is having a bit of a meltdown. Because while good presidents like Obama win the Nobel Peace Prize, he gets rejected. And it's not even the first time he's gotten rejected. This man has been seeking this Nobel Peace Prize for quite a long time. And they always look over him. So let's dig deeper. Act 1 in tonight's drama. Yeah, I want to call it the accidental confession. Some people are reporting it as an accident. I don't necessarily think it was accidental. But he exposed his enemies list. The Trumpster accidentally posted what was supposed to be a private message to Attorney General Pam Bondi, over there on Truth Social. In it, he's directly ordering her to prosecute several stars of the Democratic side of the aisle, if we should call it that. Now, reporting says it was live for about 47 minutes before apparently it got deleted, but snapshots are everywhere. And so let me show you. Where did it go? Because the snapshots are everywhere. So here's what was stated, and then I'll give you my analysis. Hopefully you can see it on the screen. But so he's talking to, like I said, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and he says, Pam. And I'm not trying to do this, but as you read it, it really sounds so infantile. It doesn't sound like you should use a serious and somber tone. It sounds like, where's my helium balloons? That's what it sounds like. But he says, I've reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially, same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey? He sounds like he's crying. What about Adam Shifty Schiff and Letitia? And y'all know he didn't even spell it right. They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. If it just gives off a whole lot of Karen energy to me. Now, if y'all disagree, say something in the chat. If you think it do give off Karen energy, drop a 1. If you think it don't give off Karen energy, drop a 2, and we'll see. But so you see where he's going. And he says, then we almost put in a Democrat support. A Democrat supported U.S. attorney in Virginia. Hey, shout out to the VA. Shout out to the home of Virginia is for lovers. With a really bad Republican past. A woke rhino. I know he really scared of those. Who was never going to do his job. That's why 2 of the worst Democratic senators pushed him so hard. I'm telling you, man, this man's words, his tone, his voice, it just, it's not giving alpha energy to me. I don't know about y'all. Now he goes on to say, talking about the Democrats and the rhino, the woke rhino, he even lied to the media and said he quit and that we had no case because you didn't. No, I fired him. And there is a great case. Y'all know that's like his favorite word. Great. Everything is great. It's great that you didn't get that. Let me calm down. And many lawyers and legal pundits say so. The ones that are on his payroll. Lindsay Halligan is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation. Man, this fella think he got a reputation that can be killed. That in and of itself deserves comedic reverie. And here goes the final oomph of the crying, ladies and gentlemen. They impeached me twice. They indicted me 5 times. He forgot to mention they convicted you 34 times. But he says it's over nothing. And he says justice must be served. So again, ladies and gentlemen, you see the clown doing the clown things. But let me give you just a little bit more of my 2 cents, my analytical frameworks. Sometimes the universe just hands you receipts. It's excellent. It's perfect. It's quite ironic that he does these things. He denies he does these things. And then the proof comes out that he does these things. You know, like the Epstein files. I mean, we're still waiting for them to come out, but everybody is aware that whatever it was that he did is in the Epstein files. And that's why they don't want to release the Epstein files. Shout out to everybody that used that hashtag, release the Epstein file. This man thought he was sending but here's the thing. He thought he was sending a private DM. So there's, that's fuel for the fire for all of the late night comedians, provided they don't get terminated again. He thought he was sending a private DM. This happens a lot in this current administration. The guy sent off the military plans to like WhatsApp, but he thought he was sending a private. So instead, it's being posted on Truth Social for the whole world, for the whole MAGA world to see. for reporters to see. And so, again, it's just hilarious. So let's break it down. It's literally a direct order. He's sending out his marching orders and telling the attorney general to prosecute his political enemies. He didn't say investigate. He didn't say look into the allegations. He said prosecute. For him, it's a foregone conclusion. So he's not even pretending anymore. I'm telling you, they're playing by this Nazi playbook, but they're not taking it on the slow path. They're trying to fast track everything. Let that be a warning to you if you're thinking about getting your passport. He wants Comey charged, and y'all saw the headlines the other day. That's now in full swing. He wants Schiff charged, and I don't think it's gone across the line just yet. But if you're paying attention, I do believe there was some barking going on between Bondi and Schiff. So the tension is mounting. He wants Letitia James charged, and that was yesterday's big whammy of the news cycle. Why? Because she had the audacity to sue him and hold him accountable. Now she's on the charged list, chopping block. But you know what else is in this little mix-up message? Private DM that's posted to the world? He's admitting that he fired a U.S. attorney for refusing to do his bidding. So when he says the Democrats supported U.S. attorney in Virginia, y'all know who he's talking about? He's talking about Eric Seibert, the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, who Trump fired in August. Because Seibert spent 5 months investigating Letitia James, and Seibert said, you know what? We don't got a case. No evidence of wrongdoing. So as soon as that case was over, Orange Man was steaming. And Orange Man remembered his role on that NBC show, called that dude in the office and said, you're fired. Seibert refused to bring charges without evidence. And he got replaced. With who? A loyalist, Lindsay Halligan. And guess what she used to do? She was a White House aide. A White House aide, ladies and gentlemen. A Trump loyalist. Who, at least according to the Post, by the president. So you can't say this is hearsay. You can't say this is allegedly. No, this is out of your own mouth. He likes Pam a lot. Just sounds like high school language, too. So here's the translation. If you're not reading between the lines just yet, Trump installed someone who would do what he wanted without question. This is the regime playbook. Now, get this, though, because I think there's even a deeper layer to this. I think there's a bigger smoking gun, so to speak. Because people been saying, journalists, watchdog operation agencies, it's been the ongoing talk for months that the indictment of Letitia James was politically motivated. People have been saying Trump is using the department as his personal revenge machine. And now we don't have to speculate, because he literally just told the world in writing on social media. And we all know social media don't ever go away. But this is a serious matter. This is the authoritarian playbook in full view. This is what happens when you consolidate power. Because once you feel like you got all your big dogs in a row, you stop hiding it. You get sloppy, but you stop hiding it. You don't need to hide it anymore because you believe you're untouchable. Now, and this coming from a man who already believed he was untouchable. He already believed he was invincible. They call him Teflon Don. So you get somebody that already thinks they're invincible and untouchable, and then you give them more power, and then you give them more power, and then you give them more power. But here's the beautiful irony. Apparently, this 78-year-old man doesn't fully understand and know how social media truly works. According to the story, he thought he was sending all of this information, this indicting information. He thought he was sending a private message. Well, joke of the day on you, bruh. It wasn't private. Now, research suggests it stayed online for 47 minutes. The entire world got to see exactly how this administration operates. Now, whether they blink their eyes and forget it, time will tell. So now we have even more mounting evidence. Now we have more proof that Letitia James is not being indicted because she committed a crime. We have this smoking gun that the investigation was done. It was completed, and the official word was nothing. There's nothing here. There is no case. Nah, she's being indicted because she held the Trumpster accountable. And POTUS has now gone on record. It doesn't matter that he took it down. Everybody has it. It's all over social media. It's in the Google archives. It's on the record now that he ordered the Attorney General to make her pay for it. This is lawfare, as I said last night. This is the weaponization of the justice system. This is what tyranny looks like, especially when it's so arrogant and full of itself. It forgets to even try to pretend that it's following the rules. So what do y'all think? Am I wrong? If I'm wrong, let me know. Say something in the comments. Drop a note. Feel free to drop a note. Hit the like button. Share this podcast. Some people say, don't call it a podcast. Share this stream. Share this channel. Share it with somebody that you know would find interest if you hear anything that is of curiosity or interest to you. Now, again, I said this whole thing, we're talking about the drama of the news cycles. So we've just concluded Act 1, ladies and gentlemen. Let us move on to Act 2. Now, the headline is about BLEXIT. Y'all know what BLEXIT is? A couple friends asked me, and I'm like, I must admit, I was a little thrown off because they got so many different terms, acronyms. And I was like, I'm not sure. BLEXIT, Brexit. I'm like, wait, hold on. Let me make sure we're talking about the same thing. So let me try to pull this up. Here we go. At least put this on the screen for a hot second. So y'all can see what this is. Y'all can see who this is. Two of the class clowns at MAGA University. The Black MAGA organization backed by, y'all know, the Kirkster. Turning Point USA. They have a plan they intend to tour 10 historically Black colleges and universities throughout October. They're going to crash out. Or maybe they'll get crashed out. I don't know. We will see what happens. Y'all saw what happened at the last HBCU when the unmelanated folks showed up. But they plan to crash homecoming celebrations with their Educate to Liberate scam tour. And I think I didn't catch an actual full-scale news report. I'm still looking for it, but I believe they hit Jackson State University today. I'm trying to find out. Anybody connected, associated, know anything about Jackson State University, send me a link. I want to know what happened. But so you have these skin folk who definitely ain't necessarily kinfolk. And I know I keep saying it wrong. So you have these, no, maybe I said it right. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm stop tripping. So while Orange Man is prosecuting black prosecutors in New York, let's unpack what his allies are doing across the country. So as I said, if you don't know, BLEXIT is the organization started by Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum, two of the most prominent black faces in the high spaces of the MAGA movement. And now it's being powered by Turning Point USA. Yeah, the Kirkster's organization. Yeah, the same Kirkster who y'all know what happened. But you might not know this, because Turning Point USA is the same organization that puts a bird's eye, that puts a target on professors on college campuses that they feel are too woke, that they feel are too pro-black. This is the job that they are doing. This is the job that they have signed up for, and I'm sure they're being paid handsomely for it. Yeah, the same organization that got Professor Mark Bray, who we talked about last night, hunted out, hunted down, they doxed him, had that man pack up his family and head to the airport to leave this country because he was getting death threats. I talked about it last night, so you can go back and look at that because I gave a much more detailed breakdown. All because he was teaching about anti-fascism. Not fascism, anti-fascism. They don't want people to learn about anti-fascism. I wonder why. So what is BLEXIT doing? They're going to be crashing HBCU homecomings. And I mean that. I didn't say visit. They're not just going to be setting up a table in the student union. They're crashing. Homecoming, one of the most sacred cultural traditions in black college life. And those words mean something. Sacred, cultural traditions. Because I got a few words for some folk that like to throw nonsense around and talk about black people, black Americans don't have culture. Y'all are idiots. But okay, hold on. Let me slow it down. Let me not digress too much. So the coons of the town are trying to ruin, upset, interrupt, crash out black cultural traditions. Now, if you don't know, like if you know, you know. But if you don't know, HBCU homecoming isn't just about the football game. It isn't even just, the football game is huge. But what is also huge is the band. And it's not just about the band and the cheerleaders. It's also huge for the tailgate. It's also huge for the simple fact of the reunion of it all. It's a celebration of black excellence, black community, black legacy. It's when alumni come back in droves. Now, alumni may be coming back, here and there, one or two at a time, but this is the moment. This is the movement time. It's when students connect with history and when the culture is alive and bright and vibrant on these HBCU campuses. And it is ours. But BLEXIT is going to show up uninvited Nobody called them. Nobody texted them. Nobody sent them an email. Nobody requested them. They're just uninvited guests coming to town to tell black students that the Democratic Party has failed them, as if the Republican Party has not. You know, I'm not here to stomp for the Democrats. I take issue with the Democrats time and time again. But I'm not going to be one of those people that say, I'd rather my enemy face me in the front. I'd rather my enemy be 6 feet under. But since I know that can't happen, I need to know I want my enemy in front of me, but I don't need to ride along in the back seat with him. And the Republicans will drive us off a cliff. Again, I digress. So they're trying to convince black students, African American students, Africans in the West, that conservatism is the answer. And that just because they drink the Jim Jones or the Donald Trump Kool-Aid, the rest of us need to. But I got news for you, folks. Orange Man ain't the savior. They're hitting Jackson State today. They're hitting Howard University. They're going to Bowie State. They're going to North Carolina A&T. They got 10 schools in total, all during homecoming season. So let me be clear. I'm not against diverse political thought in the streets, on college campuses, on YouTube. I'm not against black students exploring different ideologies. But that ain't what this is. Now, I've spoken about this before. The Turning Point outfit, the staged debates. They weren't debates, they were props. And now they're going to do it on our campuses. It's infiltration. It's a coordinated effort. COINTELPRO, everybody. It's a coordinated effort by a white conservative organization to use black faces to recruit black youth into a movement that is actively hostile toward black liberation, and I would even say black existence. So, let's not forget, we should not forget. Turning Point USA is the organization that is funding this tour. It's the same organization that called for the firing of professors who teach critical race theory. What y'all doing on a black campus? It's the same organization that launched countless campaigns against black studies programs. So what y'all doing on a black campus? Now, I already spoke on how they targeted professors like Mark Bray for writing about anti-fascism. This is the organization that pushed the narrative that systemic racism doesn't exist. What are y'all doing on a black campus? I would hope that the black campuses actually send them a cease and desist letter. But that ain't my call. The very institutions that were created because systemic racism excluded us from the lily white college system. And now they want to say that it doesn't exist. I mean, the audacity is breathtaking, is it not? Now, if I'm wrong, let me know. Tell me something in the comments. We can duke it out on the battlefield. Y'all know I say that all the time. So, because this is what's really happening. They know they're losing the culture war. Black MAGA knows it. White MAGA knows it. The Trump administration knows it. They know young black voters are overwhelmingly progressive. They know that the future, demographically speaking, and that's the heart of it, the demographics are not on their side. The sheer numbers. That's why they're trying to cut up and kill the vote in Texas. But they know that the future, demographically, politically, culturally, no longer looks like Uncle Sam. So they're trying to get ahead of it. They're trying to recruit black youth now. Indoctrination, indoctrination, indoctrination. While they're still forming their political identities. Same way they say the serpent slithered on up to Eve in that garden narrative. Whether you believe it or not, that's another thing. They're doing it at homecoming because they know that's when the cameras are rolling. If they were only interested in discussions, in political debate, if they were only interested in exchanging ideas, they would do it at another time. They would actually request permission to be on campus and set up tents and tables. They ain't doing that. See, they might have to pay for some stuff if they did it that way. But if they just show up uninvited to the party, well, that's the bully on the block syndrome. They know the cameras are rolling. They know the energy is high. So they know that they can get virality and visibility. This is the cultural warfare dressed up as political outreach. And we all need to call it what it is. The coons are coming to town because the cameras will be flashing. Again, if I'm wrong, tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me where I'm wrong. We can duke it out in the comments. We can duke it out on the battlefield. I'm good with that. I don't think I'm wrong, though. But let me get back up here on the big stage, because as I said, we're talking about the drama of the day. Now, we just ended Act 2. I'm going to pretend, not pretend to end, I'm going to pretend that we had a intermission, a break, and now we're going to move back into Act 2.5, perhaps. Because I want to make sure that we're connecting the dots. I like that phrase, let's connect the dots. I like that phrase, let's put these puzzle pieces together. Because some might be thinking that these are separate stories. They are being presented as separate stories. This happened, and that happened, and this might happen, and this will happen. This is not all separate stories. This is chess. Now, last night I told you about Professor Mark Bray, the Rutgers scholar who wrote a book about anti-fascism, how to understand it, how to recognize it, how to fight against it. And now he has to flee the country after receiving death threats. Death threats that came after who? Turning Point USA launched a campaign calling him Dr. Antifa and demanding to be fired. You think they're not going to do this at the HBCUs? The spectacle will be this debate thing that they're going to try to crash out and do. But they will have their spies walking all across the campus trying to have interviews and trying to have conversations to see what's the name of the professor that's provocative on campus. What's the name of the pro-black professor? What does he talk about in his classrooms? It's information gathering. So don't be surprised if shortly thereafter, October, after homecoming season, you're going to see BLEXIT start turning up the heat on specific HBCU professors. Now, yesterday, we also talked about Letitia James being indicted after Trump literally ordered Pam Bondi to prosecute her. Do you see the pattern? Turning Point is attacking scholars who teach resistance. POTUS's prosecutorial levers, his officials, his soldiers are being told and forced, even if they don't want to, but they do. They're being told, go out and get this enemy and that enemy. Why? Because they practiced resistance. And now here come BLEXIT recruiting black youth, trying to recruit black youth into the very movement that's doing both of these. I believe if you're familiar with either Tupac himself as an artist or as a legendary figure, or if you're familiar with the movie or any one of the movies that came out, there was a scene in that movie where his mother was telling him, advising him that he has to be careful because they will give you just enough rope to hang yourself. Now, excuse the pun, because I know there's that might be a charged terminology and phrase since we got all of these stories coming out every day about lynchings. But I say that to say this is what BLEXIT is doing. They're going to try to wrap their hands around the black youth on college campuses. And if they can convert them, they will give them just enough rope for them to hang themselves. I'm speaking figuratively, of course. But all of this is a coordinated multi-front assault. That's why I said it's chess. It's not checkers. Attack the educators so that the next generation doesn't learn how to resist. Prosecute the prosecutors so that no one dares hold power accountable. Recruit the youth so they join the oppressor instead of fighting oppression. It's the same machine. It's the same playbook that played itself out in Germany. It's the same funders. It's the same strategy. It's the same goal. Consolidate power and eliminate opposition at every level. That's gangster. They're not just coming for activists. They're not just coming for grassroots organizers. They're not just coming for scholars. They're coming for us all. Prosecutors, students, they're coming for the culture itself. Not to quote George Bush when he said, they hate us for our freedoms. Stupid as that was, we can reappropriate that quote. They hate us for our culture. They hate us for our blackness. But this is the full spectrum of what it looks like when you are at the very beginning stages of an authoritarian takeover. Now, I said Act 2.5 because that was like, okay, before I move on, I got to make sure we don't put these pieces together. But now we're going to go to Act 3. And I got a picture for you. Act 3, well, yeah, I do. I got a couple pictures for you. We're going to have just a little moment of brevity. If I can pull this up. So y'all see what they're calling him. Y'all see what they're calling him. The Petty King. Trump's Nobel Prize meltdown. The Nobel Peace Prize was awarded today to Venezuelan opposition leader. Opposition leader. Let that sink in. Maria Corina Machado. Now, Donald Trump, who has spent months publicly campaigning for the award, sour grapes. He didn't win. His response, a public meltdown. Over who? Barack Obama. The obsession. Oh, it's there. All right, so after all the heavy, dangerous, authoritarian madness we've been talking about tonight, let's take a moment to appreciate the absolute comedy of the DT ego. So like I said, the Nobel Committee made their announcement. 2025 Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado, a Venezuelan opposition politician who has spent years fighting for democracy under an authoritarian regime. Now, if that ain't a political jab, shots fired. She's quite a worthy recipient. She's quite a worthy recipient. And what does Trump do? Well, he thought he was going to win. For months, this man has been campaigning for this prize. He's been campaigning for it probably like the same way he campaigned for the election. In September, he stood in front of the United Nations General Assembly and said, and this is a direct quote, "Everyone says I should get the Nobel Peace Prize." The everyone were all of the people in his head. He told reporters that not giving him the award would be a big insult to America. Well, I mean, most people tell me if I'm part of America, I feel no insult whatsoever. Because, again, he didn't say it would be a big insult to him. He said it would be a big insult to America. You know what? Because in Trump's mind, he is America. So what happened? When he didn't win, did he take it on the chin? No, he had a full meltdown. He told reporters, they gave it to Obama for doing absolutely nothing but destroying our country. Now, Andy, cursory glance at morale, economics, finances, culture, peace in this country. We were far from destroyed under Obama. I am not an Obama proponent. Trust me, I got beef with that administration. We were far better off during that administration than we are, and we only 10 months into this one. He's supposed to be focusing on governing. He's supposed to be focusing on policy that helps people, not hurts people. You know, the real work of running the country, the noble work, the Nobel work of running the country, not off a cliff, not down the drain, but instead he's big mad that he didn't get a trophy. It's been 16 years and this man still can't keep Barack Obama out of his mouth. Talk about living rent free. Now, like I said, I'm not here to defend Obama. But Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize in 2009, 9 months into his presidency. Ooh, the irony. Ooh, the irony. And even Obama said he didn't think he deserved it yet. I guess they said, well, we ain't going to make that mistake again. Orangutan, you ain't getting it. Okay, Trump brokered a ceasefire in Gaza. So he says, I want to say it will probably collapse, but I don't want to say that. I wish for peace in the Middle East. So I don't want to see that. I don't want to see that deal collapse. But Trump has broken a peace deal in the Middle East before. I'm just saying. And he thinks that one activity is enough to give him the Nobel Peace Prize. What about the 34 convictions? You know, that might be a chink in the armor for a Nobel Peace Prize. What about the Epstein file? We talk about a man who banned Muslims from entering the country. Why? Because they were Muslim. Not because they were terrorists, because they were Muslim. We talk about a man who separated families at the border, who called African nations whole countries. Does that sound like peace to you? The man who praised known dictators and insulted the country's allies. The man who incited an insurrection at the Capitol that was directly related to human lives being lost. The man that said, drink bleach and you won't have to worry about COVID. And he thinks he deserves a Nobel Peace Prize? I mean, if they had a Nobel Clown Prize, the delusion is astronomical. But here's what this moment really reveals. Let me get serious. Let me calm down, slow it down. His entire presidency, his entire public life is driven by one thing: ego. Not policy, not principle, ego, greed. And to some extent, it's not even power for power's sake. It's just ego, the need to be praised. There's a nice big N word that people throw out a lot. The need to be seen as the best, the need to be loved. And when he doesn't get it, he lashes out, he blames, he attacks. This is the man with access to the nuclear codes. This is the man ordering prosecutions of his enemies. And supposedly, now I say supposedly running, because the jury is out, the most powerful country in the world. And I say supposedly most powerful country in the world. Because I don't necessarily buy into that. But hey. So you got POTUS throwing a tantrum because he didn't get a prize. So let me introduce a new segment for moments like this. Y'all know the Breakfast Club. Y'all know Charlemagne, he does Donkey of the Day. And I'm like, I want a phrase like that. So what we'll do is, and I may dress it up, I may let it go and say I'm not gonna do it again. I don't know. But for now, tonight, we're gonna call it the proper fool of the hour. And today's inaugural honoree is DJT. For being so petty, so jealous, so absurdly self-centered that he couldn't even let a Venezuelan freedom fighter have her moment without making it about himself and his sick, twisted fantasy obsession with Barack Obama. Congratulations. You earned the Proper Fool of the Hour award. Now, if y'all sound wrong for this, we can duke it out on the battlefield. Let me know in the comments. If it's whack, if it's weak, if it's lame, if it's corny, I may not do it again. I may actually lean into it some more because I like to spite folk. So we'll see. But I'm not going to be on here that much longer. I appreciate you paying attention and listening. I appreciate you dropping comments. We're going to bring this all together before we land this plane. And one day we got a smoking gun confession that Trump is directly ordering the prosecution of his political enemies. James Comey particularly, Letitia James particularly, and I'm sure Adam Schiff is next. We got a coordinated invasion of HBCU homecomings by a MAGA-funded Coon and Tell pro organization trying to recruit black students into their racist movement, in which they will be attacking more black prosecutors and black scholars. And we got a public meltdown from the President of the United States because he didn't win a prize. He thought he deserved more than a woman fighting for democracy in Venezuela. These are not separate stories. They're all part of the same picture. They're all pieces to one big puzzle. An administration that prosecutes accountability, an organization that infiltrates cultural spaces, and a leader so consumed by ego that he can't govern. They are attacking on every front: legal, cultural, educational, psychological, every front. 4D chess is the name of the game. And they're not even hiding it anymore. Trump literally posted the evidence. BLEXIT is advertising their crash out. The narcissism is on full display, ladies and gentlemen. Because this is what authoritarianism looks like. Especially when it thinks it's already won. But here's the thing. The only way they actually win is if we bow down and just take it. If we just let them. if we ignore the patterns, if we dismiss the threats, if we stay silent, if we just say, I'm going to the party, I ain't got time for this. If we say, I got some shopping to do, I ain't got time for this. So I'm imploring people to investigate mutual aid societies, to look underground. If you see, you know what they say, if you see something, say something. We need to be seeing something and saying something. Document what you see. A lot of us are already doing it. Call it out. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And you can't walk away from it. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is Shabazz with the proper perspective. This was my 2 cents. This was my food for thought, my soul food for thought. If I'm making any sense to you at all, please do us both a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. And let me know your thoughts down below. The comment section is the open battlefield. Let's keep duking it out. And with that, I'm going to say peace.